There are 4 different ways that you as a grower can apply your controlled release fertilizer. And in the first video of this 4-part series, we went over the advantages and disadvantages of top dressing. If you missed it, I'll put a link below, or you could visit my YouTube channel where you'll find content that I hope you'll find useful. In this second video, I wanted to discuss dibbling. And this is probably the least talked about method, but still very effective if you do it right. Basically, with this method of application, you take your container, fill it with media, place the fertilizer in the center of the pot on the surface of the media, and make a hole so that the fertilizer goes down to the bottom of that hole. Then you take your liner, or you might call it a plug, and you place it in the hole. Compact the media around the liner, and you're done. And this is usually done when planting a liner into a gallon or 3-gallon container, so smaller containers. So as you would expect, as with other methods of applying controlled release fertilizer, there are advantages and disadvantages to dibbling. So let's go over them. One advantage that dibbling can provide is that it can result in lower levels of weed pressure. And this happens because if weed seeds do land on the media and they germinate, the fact that the fertilizer is a couple inches below the soil line helps to deprive the weeds of nutrition, at least in the beginning, where it might give you some time to remove them before they take off. Another advantage of dibbling is that the fertilizer can be applied at lower rates per pot. And this is because the fertilizer is in such close proximity to the root ball of the liner. So the amount of fertilizer necessary for the plant to grow can be slightly reduced. Even though if the plant has a long growing cycle in that pot, you may have to supplement with a top dress because using a lower rate than what's recommended will usually give you a shorter longevity. And the last advantage is that it can be very difficult for the CRF to fall out of the pot if the pot falls over. Because the CRF is down in the media, most of the media would have to fall out of the pot in order for the CRF to come out. Now, while dibbling has its advantages, it also has one major disadvantage, and that is that dibbling can lead to plant damage, especially if your containers dry out excessively between waterings. Having a large concentration of fertilizer in such close proximity to the roots may damage your plants. If you do decide to dibble, I recommend you trial it on a small batch of plants and on all plant species that you grow. And always err on the side of caution and don't dibble at a very high rate. If you're looking to try this out, I recommend using Nutricoat for this application. I've personally tested this method and used it as a grower, and the final results were phenomenal. But as I mentioned earlier, always trial first. Every plant is different, and so are your growing practices and conditions. Thanks for watching my video. I'm gonna ask you for a favor. I like to produce content that you find useful. So if you have any other topics that you would like discussed in future videos, please send them to me, and that'll help me develop content that you have interest in. Be sure to look out for my next video where we'll go over the advantages and disadvantages of subdressing. See you then.